This is the 63rd Test from the Future, an experimental podcast from the year 2222, which we are sending from our present to yours. My name is Dirk.
And my name is Simon.
And we're putting the past in podcast. Happy Solstice.
Happy Solstice, Dirk.
It's
for a few days ago now, but
yeah, okay, it's true, but
close enough.
It's still our Solstice episode.
Yeah, correct.
You think we should explain Solstice again? No,
we should not. If anyone wants to know what that's about, they can go listen 26 episodes ago.
Exactly.
I can do math. 63 take away 26, 37 it must have been.
And also, we're over explaining things. They know what Solstice is.
They listen to every episode.
And also, they
just know what Solstice is.
They may have Solstice already back in their day. I don't know how old this celebration is. Mm-hmm. And then we spent 5 minutes explaining stuff they already know. They probably know better than we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. So,
Happy Solstice again. What do we get? Right. Presents. Let's talk about presents. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's about presents and about.
My present was so presents like a physical thing that you get. For myself, I didn't do that exactly, but I went on a really nice hike with some folk. Then afterwards, we got Korean barbecue and some beers.
Okay,
that was it. That's how I celebrated, rather than.
And you gave the present to yourself? Somebody
I guess.
got you the present?
Basically, okay, I guess what I'm saying is there wasn't a present exactly. It was more like, stuff to do on a day that was fun. It was a really nice warm day, so it was just nice to be outside walking. Went for like a hike first, So
and this was
extra
on Solstice, of
Exactly.
course. Okay.
So we went for a nice hike in Frankfurt, got really hungry and thirsty during that hike, and then afterwards went to get the Korean barbecue and the beers and stuff.
And is a Korean barbecue, is that because a person from Korea is barbecuing, or are you barbecuing?
We went to it was at a restaurant that we went to. One of the people in the group was from Korea, and then she wasn't the one recommending it, but other people were like, "Hey, I like that food, let's go." And she said, "Okay," and then took us to a good place.
And is it then it's Korean food as well?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Right. It's the barbecue way. So in England, there barbecue means grilling. That's where you have like charcoals or wood with a fire, yeah? But this was more like barbecue, I think like they use it in America, where it's more to do with how the meat is prepared. So I didn't see how they cook it in the kitchen, but the point being is not that it's grilled outside with smoke, it's rather that the way the meat is prepared beforehand, that's what defines it being barbecue.
Okay.
So it was a really it was chicken with a really sweet, really spicy glaze.
Was it typically soya-based chicken, or was it like specially...
Oh, of course, soya-based. Okay. We're not on Jupiter Hill. We're not around. We're not around Jupiter here, but the taste was really good, and it was a nice type of spicy. Some people found it too spicy. For me, it wasn't too spicy. It was just the right amount. Where first bite you don't even notice, but then as you eat more, it builds and builds, and at some point your whole scalp is sweaty, and your nose is not running, but a little bit running. Okay. For me, that's the nice amount, Other people found it a bit too painful, like their lips were burning, but my lips did not burn, so...
So it was a spice solstice.
Yeah, spice solstice. Solstice, there you go.
Oh.
That wasn't mentioned on any of the menus in the restaurant, but that's the thing they maybe will do in the future. If I tell them.
Solstice is the go-to Korean barbecue.
For spicy food in general, I guess, but yeah.
Okay, that sounds fun, actually. So, and where was the place? So just downtown?
Downtown, near Hauptwache.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Then it's not so far from me. I shall try it out. I like my skull sweaty.
Mm-hmm. It does that well.
Okay.
Yourself? What did you either do or get?
My mom got me a comic book.
Nice.
It's the 27th episode of the Plastic Bag Man saga.
Okay. Issue or episode? Is it like animated or is it still images?
Still images, yeah, exactly. So it's really old school. Mm-hmm. And it's number 27. And I have...
Is that a rare one? Is that the most common one?
It's the most current one,
okay,
yeah. Or at least I have them up to 26. Yeah. And the 28 one came out recently, but the newest ones are always super expensive.
Okay.
So I'm basically just waiting for them to drop in price.
Right, as time goes by, they do drop in price. So to get one when it first comes out, that's a present.
And my mom got it to me, yeah. So
nice of her.
Yeah, it's Plastic Bag Man.
I've never read it myself. I know of it, but I haven't read it.
It's apparently taking place in the 21st century.
Hey, like our listeners.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe it's a common thing, but anyway, it's some sort of superhero, and he has a plastic bag for a hand, and a plastic bag is kind of like it's like a bag, but made of this really typical material that was very popular in the 21st century.
Right.
So it's plastic. I don't know exactly what it is, but he has instead of one hand, he has a plastic bag. Maybe he was using a cyber chip to get that. Although I'm not sure if they had that around that time. And he has a special power that he can also turn his other hand into a plastic bag. Yeah. So, but if he has one plastic bag, he basically uses that to carry stuff that he finds on his trips. Then because it's with the one hand, he can put it in the plastic bag that is his other hand, basically. And of course, that makes no sense. But of course, in his stories,
it works out.
Always.
I mean, when they're both plastic bags, maybe he uses that like if he needs to glide somewhere, not fly, but like to jump from one building to another, he can glide down using them like 2 mini parachutes.
I think he does that in one of the episodes, but it's not a power he can control. That's the whole thing. It's like it's basically when he's triggered in some way. This kind of changes during the course of the comic books. Then basically his other hand becomes a plastic bag, which is on the one hand like an extra superpower, and the other on the other hand
sometimes
super clumsy. Yeah, because he.
And are they matching plastic bags?
They are actually. Yeah. In at least in the drawings they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I haven't actually finished the new book yet. But it's pretty good continuation of the story that they started in 26.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's a nice bridge to our topic of today, because we celebrated Solstice also together.
We went to see a film.
Which film did we see?
We saw Yoda versus Agent Smith 4. Some good stuff.
And that's actually really new because it only releases tomorrow.
We saw a preview.
Yeah. And I think, officially releases tomorrow, but for Solstice they had a bunch of like pre-screenings and so on, so you could get extra tickets. And then you had people dressed up as Yoda or Agent Smith or Pickle Rick or whatever walking around. That was actually quite cool. So
I went dressed as Pickle Rick myself.
And I thought, because it was so great, let's talk about it in our episode. If we would be recording this for the people for more time,
this would work for them too.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe we should tell people about it.
Yeah, maybe.
If you want to know what we think of the movie, listen to our podcast. Don't ask us, listen to the podcast.
Right. Okay, that's a good way. Yeah, if it comes up in conversation. If someone asks, what do you think of Yoda versus Agent Smith 4? We can say, I'm not going to tell you. Listen to my podcast.
Yeah, and the other way around, if they say, shall I tell you what I thought of the movie? Then we can say, no, don't tell us. Just
email us.
First
listen to what we said, then email us at michaellasagna5@gmail.com.
And then we answer in 200 years.
Yeah, well, because if they're in our present, if you're listening to this in the year 2222, put in the subject line, hey guys, I'm in the year 2222. But if you're in the year 2022, meaning 200 years ago, then put the actual number, the episode number 63.
200 years ago for us.
For us.
For your listeners, if you're listening to it now.
It's always the present.
Okay, I'm always getting confused when we speak about numbers.
It's tricky, I think, also, because we're in the year 2222. If we were in the year 2322, I think it would sound a bit easier.
Yeah.
But I find myself getting a bit confused sometimes, saying 22, 22, 2022. It's also 22 at the end there.
And also we're recording in this time zone. Maybe the listeners are in a different time zone. And
next year will be fine, 2023, 2223. All good.
Okay, we'll be fine. But so the movie was really great. Shall I mention the storyline? Does it matter?
Yeah, we should. Yeah, like a summary for. I mean, maybe people have seen all the previous ones, but it's been a couple of years since the last one, so get them up to speed. And
I think the part 3, Yoda vs. Agent Smith 3, that was like a 20-hour movie or so.
It was a long one.
But of course, that ended on a massive cliffhanger. So in part 4, the Jedi gang finds themselves on Jupiter, and they're obviously keen on retrieving the silver shoe.
It's super important, that's where it left off.
Exactly, and that's kind of where the movie 4 starts, and I don't want to spoil too much of it.
So wait, we're not doing spoilers, or we are?
No, we can't do spoilers.
Let's do spoilers.
Okay, so a spoiler warning.
Mm-hmm.
Like
you don't want to hear the spoilers. Chapter markers will be your friend.
Yeah.
But right now we're going to spoil the movie. There you go.
So either stop listening right now and just skip to the chapter marker where we say goodbye, or listen to it and make sure you have forgotten all of it in 200 years.
I think you'll forget it in 200 years,
Yeah.
So I often, I'll watch a trailer, a few weeks later I won't remember it, so they should be fine.
Fair enough. Yeah, so how did you like the movie, or what part did you like best, or...
I mean, because it was following on directly from the previous film, I appreciated that. I like it when it's really like, one scene ends, you come to the next film, and then it's really continuing. It's a bit strange sometimes because the actors are like 3 years older, but it's meant to be the next second. But in this case, they did it pretty well. I didn't get pulled out of it in that way. And what I liked was, it's the next scene, but then soon after they go to Ceres, and they visit the American astronaut at the bar there.
Yeah, I thought it was also pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But you're saying so the switch between part 3 and part 4 was as smooth as
possible. Yeah,
as smooth as we did in the previous 2 episodes of the podcast.
As smooth as that.
Okay, immediately.
I mean, we only aged a week. In this case, it was a few years, but as smooth.
But was it meant to be 3 years later?
No, the story wasn't. I'm just saying that the actual film production was made 3 years later, or I guess 2 years later, but it's coming out 3 years after the previous one.
Yeah. I thought it was actually quite surprising, and I also thought then the I think the restaurant scene was pretty much in the beginning.
Right after they go to the bar, then they go to the restaurant.
I thought it was great. I think that's the first moment where Yoda and Agent Smith meet again, and they sit in a restaurant and then they share a meal, and it's when I think Agent Smith complained about a small love burger.
Yeah.
And then Yoda says, size matters not.
Right, because Agent Smith's saying, this is too small. And Yoda's explaining that's not the key.
That was pretty funny. And then Agent Smith says, okay, then you eat it. And then Yoda says, a Jedi craves not these things.
Exactly. And then Agent Smith's, consume it, you will.
Yeah, exactly, because when he refuses to eat it. I think that was a pretty cool. It had some past references in it as well, and it was a really tense scene, because they're like sworn enemies.
Yeah. They're not playing around. Like for us as the audience, it feels in some ways a little bit fun, but the tension was real. The way it was acted.
Exactly. If you would just basically have not seen any of the movies in the past and just enter that scene, you just go like, these guys are speaking a little bit weird to each other, but whatever, But if you know what has happened before, and what you can guess happens later in the movie, or expect anyway, and then they're suddenly sharing a burger.
Yeah,
that's there was some pretty cool writing there.
So I mean, I went dressed as Pickle Rick. I had an inkling, but a lot of the audience, they were really shocked when they learned that not only had Pickle Rick survived the explosion at the end of part 3, but that he was now a partner of Agent Smith. Yeah, that was a really big shock. I mean, it shocked to me too. Yeah, I didn't know it'd be I figured he'd survive. I'd seen like the cast.
They were teasing it.
Yeah, exactly. But the idea that he would partner with Agent Smith, that was a shock to everyone.
I think really until the first previews were out, people weren't sure if he was actually going to be in it, because in the trailers...
It might just be like a flashback or something.
Exactly.
Or a memory or a dream or whatever.
But in the trailers, you heard it basically in the background, where there's whatever is going on, and in the background you hear Pickle Rick, and then it's like, okay, is this somebody yelling that is like a copycat or whatever? And it turns out to be actually him.
Yeah.
But what I found interesting was product placement. Of course,
there's always a lot, and
I mean, you have to finance the movie somehow, so it makes sense. And sometimes it's really obvious, and sometimes it's really, subtle. Where, of course, they had the battle at the top of the intergalactic escalator. That's obviously sponsored by the...
Sure, and I mean, the Love Burger earlier, of course, as well.
Yeah, exactly. So you can see, okay, Green Cell was... But it's basically every location that's in any movie is paid by whoever wants to market that location. So that's kind of obvious. But then when they were fighting on top of that, and Benny appeared out of midair, and then she basically, I think it's meant to be kind of a wormhole, and then she jumped out. She combed Captain Marvel's hair, and then disappears again.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was so abrupt, and it didn't really fit in. I mean, sure, now Captain Marvel has a different hairstyle, but it didn't really fit in with what else was going on.
No, it also that felt definitely forced. Where okay, there's a lot of random, inexplicable things happening in this movie series, but this, like, it was, on the one hand, it was funny and original.
Sure, yeah.
But it made no sense.
No, and I mean, it must have cost a lot for Benny, to pay for that product placement, to get that position.
But she offers the Captain Marvel haircut in her app now, right? So if you have the cyborg chip, you can subscribe to her designs, and then you can get the haircut yourself.
Right, and then your hair will also look like Captain Marvel's in the film.
And then, of course, you have to pay for that, and that's how she makes, earns the money back. Hopefully, I don't know, I guess. Yeah. But it other than that, because she hadn't been in any of the previous movies, and they didn't pick up on that. And
it was not like they really spoke with her. She just showed up, combed the hair, disappeared again. And
Captain Marvel kind of paused a little bit, like mid-fight, just to let that happen.
Yeah, paused a little bit after.
But didn't really, other than that, didn't really acknowledge that this was a thing.
I mean, another thing I really liked was when Team Insect made a cameo.
Yeah, that was much nicer.
That was more. Yeah, it wasn't a product placement. I mean, it was a bit of a callback for fans of earlier films, and I am that, and so it was really fun.
But also because they got basically their own scene. It still felt a little bit kind of like a sidestep, but from the filming style and the set design and so on, it all was part of it. And because they got basically their own scene, kind of like as a sidestep, it still felt more natural.
Yeah.
But I like it that was the Bug Lebowski. He kept yelling, "I'm a bug. I'm not a bug. I'm a feature." Like he always yells.
And Mr. Bug sang this was a really amazing cover of "I'm the One Who Wants to Be With You."
Yeah,
that was really.
It was also well sung,
Yeah. Right, it wasn't just a joke. It was. Exactly, it was really well performed.
And I heard they were the original actors.
Oh,
so it was actually Mr. Bug who sang it himself. So
it's de-aged a little bit, I guess.
But also like they didn't had no recordings of him singing. But they still managed to put that together. So basically, based on everything, all the recordings that they had of him.
I see. Because he can't sing that well anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it's no stand-in. So it's still actually his own voice that made them make the movie, right? The song. Yeah. But what I found the most interesting cameo was from Harrison Ford III.
Yeah, that was a really, really nice surprise.
It especially, I mean, first the fact that Han Solo III was in the movie.
As a character, sure.
Obviously.
Yeah.
But then they had Harrison Ford III playing Han Solo III. How great is that?
That was a really good combination.
Did you know that Harrison Ford III is actually the fourth?
I didn't know that, no.
Yeah.
Wait, how did that happen?
Because the second Harrison Ford didn't go with Harrison Ford II. Also went with just
Harrison Ford.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure, not saying the first, just Harrison Ford.
Yeah, exactly. So basically they both used Harrison Ford, and then the third.
And then the third one was like, I'm the second?
Yeah, and I'm the second because there was no second. Or something like that.
There was no first officially, but they figured, okay, I'm not the first,
and I'll
be the second.
And there was somebody in between.
Okay.
And that was not called Harrison Ford. Okay, now I'm getting confused. But apparently...
But either way, this one... this Harrison Ford III is the fourth Harrison Ford in that family.
Harrison Ford III is actually the fourth Harrison III. Okay. Harrison
did a really good job of it.
Yes, exactly.
Really sold it.
Yep. And also, we said that we were going to spoil things, but we shouldn't spoil this part. But that definitely ended up differently than I thought.
Yeah. For everyone there, I think.
I mean, because it's also a few of the things that happen in the movie, you kind of expect them to happen, you kind of want them to happen, and they actually happen.
Have expectations, and they're met, usually.
And then, but sometimes it's like, oh yeah, I know where this is going. I know who done it or whatever. And then, whoa, you didn't see that coming. And also now, this was a great movie, but I'm gonna be curious if there's gonna be a number 5.
If there is, probably there will be.
Yeah.
But it's not clear to me what will happen next.
Yeah, how are they have to really come up with some...
maybe they jump forward 30 years or something like that.
Or they will just come up with some really stupid thing that you really need to accept for 5 minutes and then you forgot that it was stupid.
But they could also do the thing, there's a series called the Kozakan Saga, and for most of the books it's progressing. At the start the main character is a teenager. As it goes on, every book he's a little bit older, and so on and so on. But then toward the end, the way the author made new books is she goes back in time and does a prequel or something, okay. Or then does a sideways story where it's not going back much, maybe just going back 1 or 2 books, but fleshing out some characters that were just mentioned in a previous book. So maybe they'll do that too.
Or it's in a parallel universe where Yoda and Agent Smith are also sharing a burger, but then
has a whole different meaning.
Yeah, they just maybe they're in love, or they want to borrow each other's ketchup, or
sure.
And maybe they have Harrison Ford the Fourth in there.
Yeah, it could be, and it could even be it's an alternate reality. So he is still the 4th one, but he's named the 4th one.
Yeah.
Sometimes I watch these films, and the parts I enjoy most are the dialogue scenes, the characters talking, just having conversations, and that's the part I enjoy most. And when there's a scene when there's a whole bunch of action for 20 minutes, I sometimes get a little bored.
Yeah.
So I'd be pretty happy if the next film is really, hey, let's just do a conversation film, have all the fun dialogue, have all the meaningful stuff happening, and not worry about having the over an hour of random action scenes mixed in between.
I can imagine. I would just be looking forward to the Han Solo character being able to use the Force, because then you can say Harrison Ford, the Ford uses the Force.
That would be some good stuff.
But it would be too forced.
That's okay. They could release it on May the 4th, and it would be even better.
Okay.
Well, actually, it takes 2 or 3 years for these films to be made, so that's a little way away.
You know what I noticed in the theater? We didn't speak about it afterwards, but there were a lot of robots in there. A lot of robots came to see it.
Yeah. Some films, there'll be more humans, some films more robots, but this was really 50-50. Yeah. But that's unusual because, usually it's more skewed one way or the other.
Yeah, exactly. And they specifically went for Solstice also as a pre-screening. Yeah. But they were all rooting for Agent Smith.
Sure. Is there... Avatar's not quite the word, but basically he's the character that they really care about.
Maybe their guilty pleasure. Yeah. Because he does all the things that
they want to do, but that they know they shouldn't.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess if there was if the evil character was a human, then maybe we were rooting for the human. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know either. But also they were rooting for him. They were at least laughing more, and I think they were half serious. It's more come on, Agent. Yeah. And then also some of them were dressed up like Agent Smith.
Of course,
was pretty cool.
Yeah. They were however tall they were, whether they were metal or humanoid or whatever. They all had the sunglasses.
Yeah, that's true. Although I also saw one with the Captain Marvel haircut.
Sure, that's also a good look.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I think we've covered the movie enough. If we cover it even more, then there's no need anymore for the people in the past to go see it.
Right, they do need to wait 200 years, but hopefully we've whet their appetite.
It's worth the wait.
Definitely.
Yeah,
but I guess between 2022 and 2222, do keep up to date with the films in between. I think if you were to jump straight to this film without having seen the previous ones, it might be a bit confusing.
I remember when part 2 came out, so that can't be there in the 21st century, but maybe part 1.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I've seen that, exactly. I didn't see that when it came out. I saw that later, so...
Yeah, okay. So that's a good preparation. If you get to see Yoda versus Agent Smith, I guess it wasn't called part 1 when it came out.
Probably would have just been Yoda versus Agent Smith. Maybe they even had a different name. Sometimes, they rename older films to match what they'll call the later ones, so... But either way, as the main characters, there was Yoda and there was Agent Smith.
Yeah. So I didn't prepare any listener questions
No,
this week.
we don't have any this week. Oh, I said it earlier, but I'll say it again.
Yeah.
So we're wrapping things up. When we send these tests back to the past, we really appreciate it when people who listen to them let us know that they received them. And the way they can do that is by emailing us at michaellasagna5@gmail.com and putting the episode number in the subject line, this time number 63. So people in the past listening to us, please do that.
All right.
We'll be happy.
All right, we will be happy. But now we will be wrapping up. So thank you for listening and see you in 200 years.
Bye-bye.